Eclipses have inspired and scared people throughout all times in history. This eclipse that we're having on April 8th, 2024 is guaranteed to go down as one of the most memorable eclipses for astrological reasons, which I will cover and share with you here, and also for other reasons of things going on the day of the eclipse, which I will not cover here. What I want to share with you in this video is, what should you do? You know, that's the question people keep asking me. I'm like, don't look at the eclipse, don't travel to go see the eclipse. I'm saying all the things not to do, and people are like, hey, so what do we do? So that is the question I'm going to be answering with this video. And I also would like to cover in a broad stroke some of the main astrological features of this eclipse. So let's start off by looking at the sun and moon joining together at 19 degrees of Aries. Every solar eclipse is a new moon. And so a new moon is the end of a previous cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. And because this is in Aries, Aries is the western horizon. Aries is that place of new beginnings. It's the youthfulness, the igniting. So fire in the form of that igniting spark, that initiating spark. It's where we feel inspired and we want to go out, and there's a youthfulness to it, where we are on the leading edge, walking out on the frontiers, even alone at times. Aries is independent, following the heart's desire, and that little flicker of a flame that starts to come back after winter. That's Aries. So a new moon in Aries is going to, taking away just the eclipse part right now, a new moon in Aries is going to feel very youthful and inspired and ready to embark on a new journey. It is the first, it's the beginning of a solar year. It's the first. Aries is the first. And so now we add in the fact that this is an eclipse. It's very close to the North Node. We've got the North Node at, I've got my chart over here if you wonder why I'm looking that way. We have the North Node at 15 degrees and the sun and moon are at 19. So it's close. The closer it is to the nodal axis, the more of totality that we're going to get, the more intense that eclipse is going to be. And this one is really close. Now, on the other side of that North Node, we have Venus. Venus is going to be at 4 degrees of Aries. This is really important when you're looking into some of the other information about theories and ideas about the deeper, you could say, biblical meanings of this eclipse. You'll want to know that, yes, in fact, Venus is at 4 degrees of Aries. And then now to the other side of the sun and moon, we have Mercury at 24 degrees of Aries. So sun and moon are also to the exact minute with Chiron. And that is so monumental. I feel like this is going to be something that is going to reverberate throughout the entire year, possibly for the next 4.5 years. But putting sun, moon, and Chiron all bunched together at 19 degrees, we have Venus on one side and we have Mercury on the other side. So it's kind of like Venus and Mercury standing, you could say standing guard, holding a kind of container for the sun, moon, and Chiron to have the alchemy that they are having together. And I will speak briefly about Chiron. So Chiron, if you Google it, is known as the wounded healer. In mythology, Chiron is the offspring of a non-consensual relationship between Kronos, who is Saturn, and a water nymph who Philanthra or Philea, for something like that. And So Chiron is birthed and abandoned because the mother is like, oh my God, what is this thing? And Chiron, this is just the short version. Short version. Chiron is scooped up and taken to Apollo, the sun god, and raised as Apollo's son, the sun god's son. Chiron is trained in the arts of healing, the arts of killing, aka war, healing and killing. In mythology, these two are always very close to each other. Just want to emphasize that. It's especially important for the new moon in Aries to remember that healing and killing always go together. When I was in the Navy, the Marine Corps was with us as a hospital corpsman. Marines were always with the hospital corpsman. They go together in a special way. Okay, so the art of healing, the art of war, the art of natural sciences, the art of art, music, singing, prophecy, music, singing, prophecy, and I think that's it, but there could be more, not sure. So many things is the point of what I'm making. Chiron is not just the wounded healer. That's the story, of Chiron being wounded and not being able to heal his own wounds and reaching out to all of his students and looking for healing and unable to heal. This story goes on to include some of the Promethean, which relates to Uranus in certain ways. We're not going to get into that right now, but just to say that Chiron, I call Chiron the alchemist, the one who is able to take life material and create something with it, which is medicine. So our Chiron story in our own personal charts is about how we were wounded, what's the trauma, and what are our responses to the trauma, and what is the medicine that we are here to generate and share with everyone. And maybe it's not everyone for you, because there's something very special about Chiron, which is that as we all can heal ourselves to a degree, not everybody is going to be a healer as a vocation. And we all have access to our inner healer archetype. So Chiron is about that. And it is about holistic living in general. So I can say from my own intuitive feelings, senses about Chiron being exact. Let's see, this is 19, is that 24? 19 degrees and 24 minutes. Sun, moon, Chiron to the exact. Like, I have never seen that happen. And I haven't been practicing since 2013. It's not the longest time, but it's quite a while. And I have never seen any planet be that close to an eclipse. So my feeling about this is that we're moving into a time where people are becoming independently holistic. And it could be because of realizing that certain ways of living actually are detrimental to our health and coming back into the patterns of nature. Or it can be because of necessity, that we need to learn how to independently see something about the key, unlocking the mysteries of unlocking a door to holistic healing, unlocking something to a holistic approach to life. And this is going to take place over the course of the next at least 1 year. Definitely the rest of the time that the North Node is in Aries. This is going to be a major thing coming up, that people are going to be more interested in holistic healing. People are going to, if you're somebody who teaches holistic healing or is a holistic healer of some sort, this is your time to shine. Chiron is at this eclipse really like a rebirth of the healer archetype. So exciting for me. Okay, so let's just leave it at that. There's all these other things happening the day after the eclipse. Mars and Saturn conjoin. We have, just so many things happening. Mars is going to come into a conjunction with Neptune. We're going to have on the 20th of April, Jupiter making an exact conjunction with Uranus, which is a huge thing. Lots of things happening in April. Too many things to talk about now, but let's get into what to do during the eclipse, because now I've mentioned a lot of times on my Instagram, don't look at it. And I've told people to don't go, like, don't leave your home and travel. Like during an eclipse, like a normal eclipse, I never book flights for an eclipse, because it's a time, especially these, the moon is blocking out the sun. The moon is blocking out the light of the sun. It's weird. It's eerie. Let me tell you something. It disrupts our circadian rhythm. And with the earth, animals act differently during daytime darkness. When the moon blocks the light of the sun, animals respond by doing what they would do at nighttime, even though it's not nighttime. So it's throwing off the rhythm, and it's fine. It's not the end of the world. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's also not something to willingly put yourself into. And you know what? If you want to, go right on ahead. I'm not. and there's more reasons, and I'll explain more reasons why not to. But if you feel called to do it, maybe it is something for you to do. But just check in with yourself. Is this a true calling to go do that? Why do I want to do it? Maybe you have a valid reason. You're a photographer and you want to, hey, go ahead. Like, there are reasons and valid points as to why one would go travel to go see that eclipse. And then if you don't have it, it's not work related. It's not, you don't feel like a soul calling, or some people who've contacted me are saying that they're going to be there for work. Hey, I don't want to, I wasn't trying to do this, but this is just what's happening. And then there's people who live under the line of totality, and they're going to be impacted. And what I would say to y'all who are actually in that line is that you were meant for this. This is part of what you've been preparing for this. Whether you know it or not, the land has been preparing for this. The animals that are there on that land, the spirits of the land, your ancestors, everything within that line has been preparing for this moment. And there's nothing to be afraid of. It's actually a very, very powerful process. I was getting into looking at Albert Einstein from May of 1919, when he was able to conduct an experiment while the moon was in front of the sun for over 6 minutes. And the research that he was able to get from that helped him to prove his theory. And then Nikola Tesla came and was like saying all the reasons why he doesn't believe in that theory. And I got to thinking, maybe eclipses, well, first of all, I love Nikola Tesla, and I tend toward whatever he says, because, you know, I'm a ride or die for him. So yes, and possibly there is something that changes, scientifically measurable changes that happen during an eclipse that can shift something. And if you're living within that line of totality, that's part of your process, and that's part of your journey. For all of us, everybody else, it's not for us to go run to that area. And there's a lot of reasons that are practical reasons, like supplies, food, gas, water, space that wasn't ready to host so many people. A lot of reasons like that. And the one that hits me the most is that I remember my grandma like, don't go outside. And she was really like, don't go outside. They're spirits of the dark. My grandma was Catholic, but she's Mexican. So she grew up with a traditional belief system and values about nature. And so there's that. And then there's also everything that I've read about eclipses. I lived in India for a while, 2 years. And the idea is that the sun is dying. The sun is being blocked out by the moon. And it is a death of the father. A death, the sun represents the father, or the death of the leader. And sometimes that does play out within the next 6 months after an eclipse. And either way, it's a time to be reverent. It's not a celebration. It's not like, oh, let's go. It's occluding the light of what gives us life on Earth. And this eclipse is going to be over 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes. That's a pretty long time to have the light blocked out. And it's enough time to throw off the rhythm of what is natural in this. Of course, an eclipse is also natural. I tend toward following the traditional view of seeing the wholeness of having the sun being blocked out and being reverent of that experience. And also all the practical reasons. Like there's this spiritual kind of reason that seems to have some sort of a what do you say when you're like this with something? You're kind of like down with it. Like I'm kind of down with the spiritual sense of wanting to be reverent and allowing a process to happen that I cannot fully understand. Like I can go back and look at the Saros cycle, which all these eclipses, we can see the path of the eclipses far back and far forward because we have the technology to know what time it is based off of the nodal axis and the Saros cycles, which we'll always have access to that. So being that we know those things, it still gives us an opportunity to hold a sense of awe and wonder for the natural things of life. This eclipse being a natural thing, but also being something that, do you really want to? Anyway, you get what I'm saying. So what to do, what I'm going to be doing is obviously, as everybody, we think that what we're doing is like the best possible thing because it's all the information that I've gathered through studying astrology and experience of life. So for the eclipse, I blocked the schedule. So I'm not working. I'm not leaving the house, actually. And we are going to focus. Because my son is going to be with me, my older son, and he's like, totally, this mom, what you're saying, it makes sense. I'm going to do it too. And it's good. Okay. So we are going to be focusing on cleansing, cleaning the house, being, I'm constantly doing cleansing things I'm doing this dry brushing, just being healthy, drinking good things, eating healthy, good things, writing in my journal about good things, keeping my, as they say, vibration high, listening to music. I'm in the middle of doing a plant diet, so dieta with Bobinsana. So I'm having medicine, focusing on my inner processes, focusing on how much I love myself and my life and the plants, listening to music. It's mostly prayer music, singing to plants, drinking tea, having this beautiful experience, feeling so grateful for being alive and healthy and well. and increasing that flow and that momentum, even just talking about it. Look at my face. Oh, I'm so happy. I feel so grateful. So being able to participate in life as a lover, as a friend to nature, and growing and building my relationship with the earth, and being reverent to the fact that the sun is being occluded, covered up by the moon. And that to me is the best possible thing. I'm not doing any writing any new moon intentions. Even when it's not an eclipse, I don't write new moon intentions until the first crescent is visible. So that means there's darkness, not a time for setting intentions, because the moon, there's darkness. That means be in the dark. That means be in the dark. So even when the moon is covering over the sun, it means be in the dark. When the light comes back, now I'm not going to write an intention 4 minutes after when the light comes back. I will write the intention when I see the first crescent moon shape coming up at sunset. So that the other thing I was to strengthen the relationship with the earth, strengthen the relationship with your spirit animals, your guides, your ancestors, strengthening the relationship with your dream teachers. Now this eclipse is happening in my 12th house. So all of those things that I just mentioned have been what I've been focusing on the entire time the North Node has been in Aries. So you'll want to look at what house the eclipse is happening for you, where Aries is on your chart, because that is the house, and the themes of the things that you're strengthening, because it's a North Node, means there's more energy going into that area of your life. That's what you want to be strengthening and focusing your intentions on that. So those things that I mentioned were 12th house things, spirits of the land, animals, animal spirits, plant spirits, dream teachers, all of those are all 12th house things. And that's what I'm emphasizing and focusing on during the time of the eclipse. So I would, if you're into astrology, if you understand what the houses are and all of that, that would be the next thing that I say, is to look at that house of Aries and focus intention there. So thank you so much for watching the video. I hope I have made some sense to you. I hope that it was helpful and that you found value in this video. If you would like to subscribe, I would appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.